Very good. Hunter, thank you very much for your time.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Have you been to Switzerland?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. Hopefully I'll be able to do that here in the near future.
Okay. You wrote this book. It's very famous here now in Europe. About what? Everybody's talking about what? And just first up question, do you also see negative things about just training with what?
I think that one of the things that can be a negative about it is that some people become very obsessed with the numbers. And so that's a challenge because, they build their entire confidence based on some of those numbers. And so I once had an athlete that I coached that called me up, very, very talented endurance athlete, won many of these world events on mountain biking. And she called me up one day and was just in tears, just crying and so upset about what was going on. And I was like, I thought somebody had died or something, what happened? And she's like, I was supposed to hit 190 watts for 20 minutes, and I did 187. So she became so obsessed with the numbers that was a bad thing. But that's really the only downside to me that I see is that part of it. The rest of it, is like, I told her, I said, hey, it's life. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days.
Yeah.
It's just life. It's the way it is. And so you have to realize that not every day you're going to hit exactly the number that you want.
Yes.
But we look at things over time, and that's really one of the keys that you have to keep in mind is capturing the information that helps me to understand. Should we start to rest? Should we take more training? So there's lots of things behind that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I've been training since I was a pro in the 90s with Watt. And just last week, I had this day where I had my mindset on that wattage I wanted to ride. But then once I was on the bicycle, I took into account the heart rate also. And I just followed the pulse. I thought it was on that day because I wasn't really rested. So all the way up, I just followed my input on let's go no higher than, in my case, 138 in pulse. And that was fine. And then I had a result of wattage and I said, okay, for today, this is okay. So don't you think wattage is only kind of good if you're really tapered or in shape or ready to go, or how do you?
Yeah, well, I think it's good all the time. I mean, I don't think that, some of the best times you need it is when you are very tired, because then that you're very tired. And other times, so it's good all the time. If you're fresh, if you're doing shorter intervals or longer intervals, I think it's very useful in all those things. Heart rate is something that's always there. I mean, I have my athletes using their heart rate strap because to me, it's what I call it's the intensity of your intention.
Okay.
So it's how hard are you trying?
Very good.
Okay? So, if I get a power file and it shows 250 watts flat across the line and there's no heart rate there, I don't know if this is good.
Yes.
If they're really trying or not.
Yes.
If I get a power file of 250 watts and their heart rate's at 180, then I know that they were probably at their threshold power.
Okay.
So I'm always looking at that. And I think there are times when you have to ignore the heart rate and you just do wattage, especially if you're building to that final build in the last 2 or 3 weeks of your final build. I've had athletes who they're peaking for Ironman or they're peaking for a big race, the World Championships, or maybe just a local race. In the last 2 weeks, their heart rate could be suppressed by 10 or 15 beats.
Yes.
But they were doing, huge numbers, 380 watts. Before they were only doing 340. So it's like, well, they're still doing the watts. So keep pushing it, especially like in the very end of the training when you're really trying to overload and create this, stimulation, this adaptation period. So we've got to have each,
Okay.
When you're really tired, we're looking at that and you can't produce the watts. We're correlating when do you make a best versus how fatigued are you. So if I'm really fatigued, then okay, you may not have a best then, but
Okay.
it could be, you know, I mean, just this weekend I had a woman that was racing in a 7-day stage race, and she had an awesome day on the last day. You know, she was very fatigued, but man, she had some of her best numbers in the last day. So she had gotten stronger throughout the race. So it's hard to say.
Okay. Could you please open the link that I sent to you, because we had tried to make this meeting on Go, but we couldn't figure it out, so I have to practice more. I sent you a link from Training Peaks. Actually, that is my dashboard chart with all those numbers, acute training load, chronic training load and stuff, training stress balance, lots of data.
And this is, okay, wait, so this is the link on, sorry, I'm looking for the one.
No problem. I send it to you per Skype.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
No problem.
Oh, okay, all right, here we go.
So I'm with 40 athletes on Training Peaks since this year. I'm very happy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I like it. It's a lot of data. Sometimes too much. Sometimes I have to really, take the athletes out and tell them, listen, what's your feeling? How you feel?
Right.
Do you want?
Right.
Are you ready? Very basic questions, because so many data. But what I like is that you really take it together and show, let's say, TSS per week. I like a lot. But I really don't understand this performance management chart so well yet. Could we please start with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at this one right now. Let's see. Log me into my account. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I got my account.
No problem.
And then I think I can make it happen here. Yeah. So let's talk about that. And,
First, I have a question. What I don't really understand is TSS and intensity factor. I don't understand why you need two of those. What's the advantage for you as coach? Of course, if the intensity factor, IF factor is high, and TSS is low, I know this was a short, sexy training,
Right.
But why do you need this? Why is the IF?
Right. Okay, so let's see. Is there any chance that you could share? So I can
should
show
I
my screen?
Should I send you a print screen?
Because I can show you my screen.
Yes.
And then that might really help you, because
okay.
I've got a presentation here, and I think it makes the most sense to kind of talk about that.
Okay, very good.
Show my screen.
Very good.
Let's see.
I pressed on the link.
Let's see. Oh, maybe I have to do it from my side actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Conversation. Share screen. Here we go. All right. I'm going to start this.
Are you sending? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, maybe you can see my screen now.
Yeah, it's working.
All right. Perfect. Okay. All right. Here. Swap screens.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here, training stress score. So, what the reason we came up with training stress score is because so the ultimate goal is to be able to plan an athlete's peak, plan an athlete's training based on the actual thing that happened, right?
Yes.
Training stress.
Uh-huh.
So, I thought about this idea back in 2002, 2001, and said, hey, we have the power data. We know exactly what they did, how much work they did. We should be able to come up with a score for each ride, and then that should be a way that we can plan their entire season and plan for a peak on the day they want to.
Yeah.
Right? Because as you know, as a coach, right, you can make anybody fitter.
Yeah.
Right? You just give them a training plan, go get fitter. The structure will get them fitter.
Yeah.
But the holy grail of coaching, right, ultimate in coaching, is that when an athlete comes to you and says, okay, on June the 15th, I want to have the best ride of my life.
Okay.
I want to peak on this day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the whole goal, is that you as a coach, you're making that happen.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the holy grail, we say. So we had to have a score. So we came up with training stress score. Intensity factor is part of that. So what happens here is that the basis of all scores is an hour time trial. As hard as you can go for an hour, you get 100 TSS.
Okay, that's, yeah. Okay.
Because everybody understands that,
yeah.
right? You've done a 40K time trial, cracking an hour for most people is a really good goal for them. And so that's something that is a key part of that. Now, as part of that, the intensity factor is a percentage of that, okay? So what we have to see is we have to say, okay, this intensity factor goes into the calculation of training stress score. And the reason that is because we looked at kilojoules as just a way to measure training stress.
Yeah.
But kilojoules doesn't account for intensity. All right, because I can do a 3,000 kilojoule ride in 3.5 hours, and I am killing it. Right?
Yes.
I'm going really hard.
Yes.
Or my grandmother can do a 3,000 kilojoule ride in 10 or 12 hours. She did the same work that I did, but at a lot less intensity.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Right. So we have to have the intensity in here because that's what then makes training stress score more relevant. And that's a real key, is that you've got to have that part of it.
And how high can you go with the IF? Can you? I thought I saw 1.2 on my files. Is it possible? How high can you go?
Absolutely.
But,
so the intensity factor is created because you divide normalized power by threshold power.
okay.
And you can have 1.2, 1.3, even 1.4, and that's going to be shorter intervals. So here you're going to have things that are real short, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. The intensity factor will be really high for those things. So that's part of it. If you're looking at 0.75 or less, that's generally a recovery ride. Now, of course, you could go do a 5-hour ride for 0.75, and okay, that's not a recovery ride.
Okay, Hunter, then let me jump in. Let me ask, what do you think? Can you say anything if you are training, let's say, if I'm doing 440 TSS per week as an average age group triathlete, and I have a intensity factor of 0.58, do you know more about me, how I train? Do you see what do you see now? If 400,
so if you did 400 and something per week and you're only 0.58, that means that you're training very slowly and you're not doing a lot of intense efforts.
Okay.
You're really going slow because if I see something that your average intensity is 0.85 or 0.95. Then it's like, man, you're training really hard, right? You're pushing yourself really, really hard and working hard. So let me show you an example here. I'll go to WKO4 in our software for WKO4. This is the desktop software that TrainingPeaks makes. Yeah. And in here, this will show there's the TSS and IF chart. Yeah. And I'll just make this one big so it's easy to see for everybody. So here you can see the red dot is the intensity factor. Okay, here is the training stress score. So you'll see the numbers up here in the legend. Right. So here we see a training stress score of 282 points, 0.90. So this means that 282 points, most likely he was, doing a 3, 4, 5-hour ride and also did it very intensely. That was one of the races that he did.
Yeah, that's a race.
Yeah, that was a race, 4-hour race he did. Now look over here, a couple of days before, this was very intense, right at his threshold, 1.0.
So maybe, let's say, 6 times 30 seconds or something like this, all out or something like this?
Well, probably, but look at the intensity here. His training stress score, this is 71.
Yeah.
And the intensity factor is 1.0. So that is what that really means is that he was probably riding at his threshold, doing 2x20s at threshold, or maybe 3x15s, because the ride itself was short, probably an hour and 15 minutes, but the intensity was really high, so he was pushing it the whole time.
Okay, got it.
Now come over here. Here's one. Here's a 400.1 right here. Right now, this was another race that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a 6.5-hour race that he did, and the intensity was 0.8. So that's still pretty intense.
That's high.
For 6 hours.
And Hunter, where is the intensity coming from? From your settings? Where is it based on maximum heart rate, or is it what's it based? Where
it's based on your threshold power.
So if you can ride 250 watts for an hour, that is 100 TSS, that would be 1.0.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if you ride at, let's say your threshold is 250 watts, and you ride at 230 watts,
yeah.
Well, that's 230, right, divided by 250, boom, that's 0.92.
Okay.
So you rode at 92% of your threshold,
okay.
0.92.
Got it.
Okay? So that's what that is. So you have to understand those two things, because every ride is going to give you that training stress score, and that's what we want. Right? Okay. So we want to know what that is. So for example here, I can look at this ride here. I'm only looking at just these metrics right here, 174 TSS and 0.81. So that I know that he scored the equivalent of nearly 2 hours at FTP.
Okay.
Right? Because it's 174. Right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he got
yeah.
174, right?
Yeah.
And that was nearly the same as 2 hours at FTP, but not quite, because he rode at 0.81. So intensity factor is 81% of his FTP.
Okay.
So that tells me right away that that's what that is. So here you can see, now I'll make this big. Let me get rid of some stuff here so it's not so hard. It's not quite so much noise. We'll get rid of speed. All right, so now we've got a little heart rate here. We've got the power in here. And this line right here is what we call a linear regression line, just showing you that the power is going down over the ride as he fatigues. All right, and so you can see, and I'll bring this other side over here back. Let's just look at his peak 20-minute power. And so if we look at his peak 20 minutes, it happened right here. Right? His peak 20-minute power is a normalized power of 274.
Okay.
Now, do you understand normalized power?
Yeah, got it. I don't like it so much because it always shows a bit athletes always, I like the average more, but of course you have to have a flat terrain and no lights and stuff like this, of course. But normalized power, usually athletes kind of bluff around and say, yeah, normalized like this. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, it takes into account the fact that you're pedaling on and off.
Yeah.
It's the nature of it. So you can see there's power on, power off, power on, power off. I mean, all these things are happening, and so that's something that is your body just doesn't recover in time. Yeah. It's like, oh, you did this huge effort right here, and you see the heart rate come up, but then it came down just a little bit. It didn't come all the way down. It came down a little bit, and then bang, he had to do another hard effort here again. And so it's taking into account this little bit of recovery, which really might not have been that.
Got it.
So that's what that is.
Could you show me the Word document that I sent to you and go, or is there anything you want to go on? This one.
So let me let's get there, because let me talk about why, because your ultimate question was, why do we need this?
Yes.
Why do we need this normalized power? Why do we need TSS? Why do we need FF? Why do we need IF? Well, first, we have the big question again is
form.
Well, what is form, right? So you have to be fit in order to have form, right? You can't go to the Ironman and have been sitting on the couch for 3 months and expect to be the winner of the Ironman.
Yep.
You don't have fitness, right? Well, you also have to have freshness, right? You can't expect to at the end of the Tour de France, you might be really, really fit, but you're really tired.
Yeah.
So you can't be on form at the end of the Tour de France either. So you have to have a little bit of balance, right?
Exactly.
So form is fitness plus freshness. Now the problem is that in order to become fit, right, you get fitter, you train, you get fitter, you give up freshness, you get tired.
Yeah.
And then when you rest, right, you rest, but then you lose fitness.
I know. That's
right?
it.
So you've got to find that balance in there. And that's what we talk about as training stress balance.
Okay.
Now, we had to come back another level and say, well, what is fitness? Well, fitness is the result of training stress, right? You get fitter because you've gone and done 50 miles, or you've done mountains, you've done 2x20s, you've done VO2 max intervals, you've done all these things. And you can look at training stress in two different ways. One is called chronic training load. That's everything you've done in the last 6 weeks.
That's.
Okay, so,
Would you say that I was just in a training camp for 2 weeks, training really good, and honestly with me, I found about 7 weeks later I could really feel, okay, the power now is coming to my body. Before 6, 7 weeks, I couldn't feel it, And athletes go to the camp 2 weeks later, they're disappointed. I say, wait, it takes time.
Yeah,
so, okay, that's a CTL is this. Okay, got it.
Exactly, right? And that's what all the research says, is there's a lot of studies that say that between 6 and 8 weeks, that's when your body has that adaptation phase and you get stronger. Okay, so that's what we call chronic training load. So right now, Roy, your FTP is the FTP you have right now based on everything you did in April and the last 2 weeks of March.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, of course, you've got years and years of training in your legs, so you've got a cumulative, fitness going on too. But really, if you stop training in the second week of March, your FTP would be a lot lower than it is now.
Yeah.
All right, now let's go to the next example, acute training load. So if you do a training camp for 2 weeks long, at the end of that 2 weeks, your acute training load's really high.
Oh, so high. Yeah.
You're tired, you're sore, you're fatigued.
Everything.
That's the fatigue you feel right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what's freshness? How do you get freshness? That's easy, right?
Resting.
You rest, right? You lay underneath the windmill in Holland and you just rest. All right. The more you rest, the fresher you become. Now you have to have, this balance of fitness and freshness, and that's what we call training stress balance.
Okay.
So let's look at this graph. So here, the blue line is the chronic training load. Okay, so this is the chronic training load. This black line is the zero line, or where we say this is the training stress balance. Anything above this is over here. This is positive, your pressure. Everything down below the black line is negative, your fatigue.
Yeah.
So here this athlete goes along, they're training. They have a large bout of training. Their chronic training load goes up, and guess what? They get really fatigued.
Yeah.
Right? They're very fatigued. Now, they start to reduce their training. They start to recover. They get fresher, they get a little positive training stress balance, and they've got a little bit of training, a little positive, a little bit of training, and guess what? They have 4 of their 10 bests for the year happen right after that.
Okay.
These are the 10 best 20-minute efforts that the athlete did for this whole entire time period.
Okay.
All right, good. Perfect. We have a peak, right? We have a peak of fitness. So we can start to predict this maybe. Now they go back to training, but they're just kind of training normal. Nothing really big. You see the fitness.
Just stays, Yeah,
it's staying the same.
Yeah.
Then they do a huge, big part of training right here. Again, another bout of training. They get really fatigued. They're tired.
Yeah.
And they start to recover. They get right here. It's still negative. This is negative 10. And they have another best. Okay, so you don't have to be a positive training stress balance in order to have a best. All right, so you got to keep that in mind. But, also, if this would have been the day that the athlete wanted to peak, I would say they didn't taper soon enough. Because if they tapered and they had maybe some more positive freshness here, maybe this number would have been 30 watts higher.
Yeah.
Who knows? Okay, so that was a good lesson. So, here's another example. Here's this athlete that goes to a national championship. building everything all the way up to this day.
Hi.
The day that he wanted to have the best ride of his life, he did 375 watts as threshold, 350 watts for 60 minutes. And here, he wanted to have some freshness just for these races. Right? So here's the 0 line. So I gave him just a little bit of freshness for 4 races in April.
Yeah.
And he had all these peaks right then.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the acute training load. You can see weekend, 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 right? He's just able to train a lot on the weekends. He's got a real job, just like most of us.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. Now, at the end, after Masters Nationals, what's happening now, he's losing fitness. He's gaining freshness.
Yes.
Right? He calls me up on this day and says, hey, Hunter, I want to go to Masters Worlds in Austria. I'm like, oh, we've lost so much fitness now. Right? So all I can do is we can train really hard for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I rest him for 3 or 4 days.
Kick
really
back.
hard 1 more week.
Yeah.
Rest him again.
Yeah.
He goes to Masters Worlds. He did okay. He got 7. But it was really, and then you notice he didn't even have one of his 20-minute bests. He did have one of his top 10 60-minute bests in the road race, but it wasn't anything super special. So, again, that kind of shows you this balance of fitness and freshness that we have to have.
What I like about your charts is really, I mean, you're monitoring, you're visualizing the facts. I mean, that's a dream killer, what you are telling me now. You can dream a lot about, blah, blah, blah. But here you have so many facts, but still it's probably a mystique. You can't, I mean, even you on your level, you must be surprised by some results. You can't always plan everything.
No. I mean, there's always going to be an art of coaching, Roy.
Yeah.
I think that's where, as coaches, we have to blend the science and the art. You know, and so you have to, okay, I've coached 500 athletes and, blah, blah, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I have a tremendous amount of experience, so there's always going to be some art going on, but I'm always also looking at those numbers, and I'm trying, so as a coach, one thing that I look for is I look for these patterns, correlations.
Okay.
Right? I know that, okay, if I give this person this much rest, they're going to have a best performance.
Okay.
Or if I give this person rest, it's too much rest, and they actually lose some fitness.
Yes.
I had one athlete that he had to go into every stage race with a -5 ESP. And he would do great for the first 4 or 5 stages. But if he went into the stage race with a positive 15 where he was fresh, he rode like crap for the first 4 or 5 stages.
That reminds me, if we have this in Europe, we have this 3-week build-up, 1 week recovery, 3-week build-up. And after this 1 week recovery, you feel so bad, So sometimes I ask myself, why to rest? But what's your opinion on that? On 3 weeks training and then stabilizing for a week? What's your experience?
Well, I mean, the problem with, all these
concepts,
good word, concepts, is that it may work for one person, it may not work for another person. 1 week of training really, really hard could be great for some people. Like they could do 30 hours 1 week, kill it for 30 hours, and then rest and ride 5 hours the next week, and then they're good to go for the following.
Yeah.
That may work for somebody. Other people, maybe they need 2 weeks on and 1 week off. Maybe some people need 4 weeks on, 1 week off. With this, you can manage it even more carefully, right? So I can make sure that I'm building them up just for 3 or 4 days, and then I'm giving them a little bit of rest afterwards.
Okay.
So maybe I train them really hard for 3 or 4 days, and I give them a couple days rest. And I train them hard for 3 or 4 days, and give them a couple days rest. Or maybe we train for 6, 7 days, and then we need 3 or 4 days rest, because I'm managing, right? I'm managing the training stress balance.
Yeah.
All right. So here I've got a great I've got a great, let's see if I can find it real quick here. Let's see. Oh man, I don't know if I can find it. Let me see. Let me show you another one here. I think I know what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Because again, everybody's very different here, and this is a good example here. This is a client of mine that I've been training, and you can see his his chronic training load coming up in stair steps, right?
Yeah.
So you can see here his training stress balance. He gets fatigued, and then I let him rest, and I let him just get almost positive training stress balance, and then I give him some more training.
Okay.
And he gets a little more fatigued, and I bring him almost positive, and then I give him some more training. Almost positive, and then I give him. And now look how I've made the big week go even more. Right?
Yeah,
He's able to dig even deeper. Right? He's done more fatigue. He's created more fatigue, and then right here, right before he was coming to a training camp, he actually came to my training camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I got him some freshness.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's fresh, and then he comes to my training camp, and now, whoa, really fatigued, right? Big training volume, recover, just a little bit of freshness, and now he's back into the training again, okay? So I'm managing this so that he gets just almost fresh, but then ready to go again, so.
Yeah. I mean,
in this case,
bring it to the point. I mean, a coach is here to, destroy an athlete's muscle up so that you get the healing overnight. That's our job. And this must be done in a scientific way. That's what you just showed me.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing, I'll make this one other point here, and this will be good for everybody to look as well. So one of the questions that I've gotten many times was, what is, let me get to this, let me skip forward here. Here, this one. What's the best training stress balance?
Yeah.
So what should it be? And so we did, Dr. Coggin and I did 300 athletes. We did a little study on 300 athletes and asked them, when you had a best, what was your training stress balance?
Yeah.
Some people were really tired. They're negative 30.
Negative 30, okay.
Right, they had a best. And then some people were positive 30. They had a best.
So you have everything between minus and plus 30. But usually 10 to 15 is most favorable. Huh?
Right, so anywhere kind of negative 5 to about 15 to 20.
Okay.
You could maybe say in here too. Right, so this is the place where most people would be. Now, that's all time periods, all durations. Now, we took all the data out and said, what if we filtered it and just said less than 5 minutes? So you did a 30-second best, or you did a 20-second best, or you did a 3-minute best, or you did a 4-minute, 50-second best. Then you see it skews to the right. It moves right. Now, this is more freshness.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you think, right, anaerobic capacity, the anaerobic ability is very strong when you're fresh. Okay? It's not so strong when you're tired. So if you have a short event, then you need freshness. Right? If you have a very short effort, you need freshness. Now, if you have a longer event, so everything over 5 minutes, it's more aerobic. Right? You can go into it a little more fatigue. So, for example, let's say, this weekend I decide I'm going to ride, 160K, and I haven't ridden 160K in 2 months. Well, should I just rest between now and this weekend? No, because I'm just going to get more out of shape, less fitness. But I could train today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I will have a lot of fatigue and be tired on Thursday. I'll rest a little bit on Friday, and then I'll go do the event on Saturday. But I still may be -5 or -10, but I still would have a better chance of doing well because it's more aerobic.
Got it.
You need more fitness.
Got it.
Right? So that comes in there. That makes sense?
Makes sense. So what you're saying, if I understand it correctly, is the shorter the race is, the more you want to be into the positive?
Yes.
Okay. So for an Ironman, you can be neutral. You can even be a little bit negative. It's okay. But if you want to go hard out, you want to have more positive as a general rule. But you couldn't say that's it, you know?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it.
Exactly.
Good.
You need, and that's where, you know, like especially Ironman type things, you know, really balancing, you know, the running, the swimming, the cycling together, you know, is so critical from a taper perspective, you know, because, you know, if you tapered a month out on the bike, then you would lose too much bike.
Yeah.
But you could still ride the bike for 2 weeks up to the Ironman and do pretty good, train pretty hard, but you need more tapering for the fun part of it. Maybe that tapers out in a month out type of thing.
Hunter, I have a question. I haven't really shared with any other coaches. I'd like your personal opinion. I train triathlon athletes most of the time, and what I found is if I guide them, let's say I do 3 intensive sessions on the bicycle, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, really tough, good sessions, but then go out of the sport, go into swimming and a little bit running, leave the bicycle behind 4 or 5 days, I can just reach better results than constantly chaining Monday bike, Tuesday running, Why is it? I couldn't find a reason why it is. What's your opinion? What's your research on this?
Right. So what you're saying is that you would train really hard for 3 days on the bike, and then after that, leave the bike.
Yeah.
Train easy in the pool?
Yes, easy the pool, like do some recovery stuff on the pool and build up some running. So I like to jump between sports back and forth, not just one day, because I find that in one day you can only reach that much. If you combine that training, let's say you're doing a nice short interval of short strides on the run on Monday. Then you do a longer interval on Tuesday, and then an all-out run 1 hour on Wednesday. You have a nice package. But then after you reach this package, you really have to go. You have to say goodbye running, jump into the pool, and do, let's say, high cadence cycling for a few days to really fill in, help your body to get this value into your system. What is your what's your?
I think you answered your own question, Roy. There.
No, I want your opinion.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think that what you're doing is right. And this is like to me, the ultimate training is what we call block training, right? You train really hard for 3 days, maybe 4 days, and then you give some rest.
Yeah.
And then when you're rested, you train really hard again for 3 or 4 days until you're rested again. Yeah. So I think what you found is a real natural way to do that, where okay, I'm training my cardiovascular system, my leg muscles really hard for 3 days, and now I'm getting in the pool and I'm relieving some of that stress off the legs, putting it down the arms, the shoulders, and back. And and you're doing easy stuff, so the cardiovascular side is recovering, and so then all of a sudden now we can go to the run after 2 days or so. The leg muscles have recovered more, the cardiovascular has recovered more. I mean, what you're doing is you're giving your athletes the ability to train intensely and get really high quality training in, and then rest and recover, adapt, and then get really hard training in. So really quality training. So I mean, I love it. I mean, that's great. That's great.
One more question for you without any names. I mean, there are many coaches who really don't train with what, even, even seldom use heart rate and stuff, kind of going, per gut feeling. I mean, of course, this can be done, but how many athletes can you coach in that way, I mean... So what's your, I mean, if I really want to talk bad about you, how can I hit you? What is the weakness of your system? When you go in that high numbers, so high quality, how would you yourself, make your job kind of, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one, I think it's very difficult to coach people without this information. I mean, it's one thing when you're standing beside them in the pool and you're seeing their stroke and you're working with them and you're controlling the environment. Or another thing, if you're out riding with them or if you're running with them, then you can coach them right there. And you can see the problems. You can see them being tired in their eyes and stuff. And you can see that. I think that's obviously when you have a coach there, right there with you, that's the best.
Yeah.
But I mean, from my perspective, I've got athletes in South Africa and England and New Zealand and South America. I've got athletes all over. In our coaching company, we coach people everywhere.
Yep.
So we're not with them.
Okay.
You know? And so if you're not with them, then that's where this data,
okay,
whether it's GPS data, pace data from running, or power data, that lets us know, like, did they do the prescription right? Okay, I gave them this training prescription. Did they do it? And then if they didn't, we can make some changes.
Yeah.
Or if they did they hit all the intervals?
Yeah.
Then how does it fit into the big picture of the performance manager? Are we on track to hit our goals? So I think it's very difficult to have a remote coach without having their data.
Got the point. Got the point. Both is possible. You can train one pro athlete day to day, have 40 SMSs per day. You know everything without wattage and everything. Just go over feeling. But you can only have a few athletes. Yeah. But if you're going the distance, have more athletes. You need data. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Hunter, can you show me on this Word file that I sent to you those last? Just let's say the last 3 ones would be interesting for us to. What have you done there? The Pmax is something I'm really interested. What do you do? What does Pmax tell you?
Right. Here you go.
I love those last 3. Those are new stuff. I saw it on your homepage.
Yep, that's new stuff. So here, let's go to WK4. It's easier to show you.
Yeah.
So in here, at the top of every athlete, we have what we call our hero metrics.
Okay.
And so it shows you the CTL, the ATL, the training stress balance. This is the ramp rate. This is the slope of the blue line, the chronic training load. And then here we have functional reserve capacity. We have Pmax first. Then we have functional reserve capacity. And then we have modeled FTP and then set FTP. So
the FTP, Hunter, is we're talking about this guy can ride 1 hour for 275 watts, correct?
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Good.
Perfect. Yeah. Right? And if they do that in an hour, how many TSS points do they get, Roy?
100.
And what's their intensity factor?
Is 1.0.
All right.
Hey.
All right.
Okay.
So what here this Pmax means is that this is their best power over 1 pedal revolution, both right leg and left leg.
Okay, question there. Do you mean this is 1,106 watts he can reach if he does a sprint for a few seconds out on the road, all out?
Yes. And it's not 1 second or 5 seconds. Yeah. It's
just
power you would do of 1 revolution for both the right and the left leg.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
That's not too bad. And you don't put this into relationship to the weight. You just leave the data as a max there.
Yep.
Okay.
Leave it as a max.
Yeah.
Now, functional reserve capacity. This is the work that you can do above your FTP. Okay, so we have this chart here we'll look at. This would be a good one here. Let's see. This one shows you, all right, I'm going to make this one big for you so you can see it easy. So this is the FTP right here, the modeled FTP. So that's what MFTP is. This is the software looking at this data, right? The yellow line is the athlete's data.
Yeah.
Okay. The red line is what we call the power duration curve.
Yeah.
This is the best fit of the data.
Yeah.
And based on this, it says this athlete's FTP is right here, 267. Okay, so 267 modeled FTP.
Where do you get this from? Where do you get this from? You have the 275 as a fact. He can ride 1 hour 275.
Right, now that's the set FTP. Okay, so that's what, based on last week's data,
okay,
I believe is his FTP. But now he's done some riding this weekend, and this is, okay, so now the model's saying, well,
got it.
Based on last week's data, you know, you thought 275, but now this weekend maybe we've gotten more accurate. Now it shows us as 267.
Very clever. So you're taking into account today's possibilities.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But again, Roy, this is part of the art of coaching.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is where you have to make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
I know better than the software does because of, you know, I know this athlete, you know, or they've done something, you know, that didn't really show in the software exactly. So you have to always do that too. All right. The FRC though, okay, and this is just the line here where it shows it is, but the FRC is all of this black area here from this the FTP line and above. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all of this work right here. So, you know, if you can do in this example, and right here, 644 or 6 minutes and 44 seconds, this athlete could do 313 watts. All right, so that's part of their FRC, their functional reserve capacity. How much work can you do above this?
Okay, now, okay. So this guy can ride 275 if he's tapered for 1 hour. Now you're going and say, okay, 15.2 is his FRC, which in his case was 6.1 minute at 300 and something watt, correct?
Well, now think of it as it's anywhere under the curve here. All right.
Okay.
All right. So think. I don't want to make a generalization here, but you're Swiss, so maybe you understand Formula One racing.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. A little bit. So it's just
I'm a big Formula One fan.
Okay, we don't. You have to come. You have to come to Monza, okay, Italy.
Perfect. So let me give you a Formula One analogy. All right. So in the Formula One cars now, they have two engines, right?
Yeah.
They have a gas engine.
Yeah.
Right? And then they have what they call the electric engine, the KERS engine, where they generate an electric engine, they generate power from the braking system.
Yeah.
Now on the steering wheel, they have a button that they can push to turn the KERS engine on, and it gives them an extra 100 horsepower.
Yep.
All right, so think of this, right? You're going in your Formula One car, and you have the gas pedal all the way on the floor. That's FTP, right?
Yes.
You're at your FTP. That engine behind you is going as fast and as hard as it can go. You're at your FTP. But you want to pass somebody. So then you push the button on your steering wheel.
Super turbo. Yep.
Boom. It pulls you out, right? And now you can pass them. But if you hold the button down too long, right, you can hold it down for 20 seconds or something, all that energy is used, right? So you get past them, but then that guy passes you back again somewhere else.
Yep,
because you don't have that button. You have to recover it. All right? So that's what FRC is. It's like you have a button on your handlebar that you can push, and I'm going to go really hard for, 10 seconds or something. And if I do that for 10 seconds, then I can do 1,520 watts. Theoretically. Okay, so if you take this decimal, you move it over, you add a 0 in here, that would be 1,520 watts for 10 seconds. Okay, so this is watts, right? This is kilojoules. This kilojoules.
So do you, and by knowing this, what does it tell it to you? Does it tell it to you, okay, this is a real talent because his number is 15.2, or what does it, why do you have this number? For example, in my case, I could do 300 watts for an hour in my best. That was like 3 years ago, and I could do, let me see, I could do 400 watts for 6 minutes. So what would be my VRC? How much would that be?
It's it's hard. You can't figure it out because we need to know the rest of the curve. And we need to know the stuff down here at 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute, because that influences the curve.
Okay.
All right, now, the way that we use this is a couple of different things. One, you're tracking the history of the athlete. So let me click on the year to date here, and I'll show you this bottom track here. So here you see the green. The green is FRC.
Yeah.
So you notice that right here, the green goes up and his FRC went higher. Now, what that says is that he has the ability to go really hard for a short period of time. Now, notice that when his FRC went up, look at his modeled FTP. His FTP went down. Okay, and look, his Pmax went down. Now, maybe that was because he didn't do any sprinting, okay? Now he goes along here, and guess what? He's training, and then his FTP goes up, but now his FRC went down because in this case, he's probably a little fatigued from the anaerobic side.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, his aerobic side is stronger, right? Goes along, FRC comes back up, Pmax comes up, and his FTP is pretty stable at this point. Now let's look at another athlete that will help you explain this a little better. This is Aldo Ilsic. He's from Slovenia.
Yeah.
He's one of the athletes that I work with. Very, very talented sprinter. Incredible sprinter. One of the best sprinters he races in the United States. He's one of the best sprinters in the United States. Now, I've got a lot of lines on here. But here is his FRC.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see coming out of the season, and his FRC is climbing very high, 23 kilojoules. So he can do a lot of work. Then we see that his Pmax is very high. 1,800 watts is, he's a very, very good sprinter.
Yeah.
Right? Then we see here his training stress balance. Okay, so this just shows you his training stress balance, okay, when he's fresh. He's very fresh, all right? And then these are his bests. So his 1 minute best and his 30 seconds best. Okay? You can do this for 60 minutes, 100 minutes, whatever you want for a triathlete, you do them for longer, okay? But what it's showing is showing the correlation between when he has a best and when his training stress balance is positive, and when those bests occur, how does that also say, oh, his FRC is much higher now? And then he recovers a little bit, he got a little fresher, and his FRC actually dropped, but because of that recovery, you look down here, his modeled FTP got higher.
Okay.
Right? So again, back to the reason we're using this is because I'm trying to find the best correlation so that I can give him the right amount of freshness and make sure that I'm training him right so that when he comes into the race, he's got the right freshness, he's got the right fitness. Because if I just trained him at his FTP all the time, never trained his sprint or his anaerobic or functional reserve capacity, he wouldn't do well as a sprinter. So I have to train him the correct way. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So the WKO4 program, does it also apply for coaches? I mean, you can buy this and then coach also for the athletes with this program?
Yeah, look at all my athletes over here.
Okay, so and how much does it cost if I buy this program?
I believe it's $159 right now. So $159. And then you sync it with Training Peaks. So here, under the athlete details pack, right, you have Training Peaks athlete.
Yeah.
And so you click edit right here, and then this is your Training Peaks username and password. Okay. Okay. And then you pick your athletes that are in your account.
Okay.
And you make sure, oh, this is Aldo. I need to associate with Aldo. And then it just pulls in all of his data. And then it shows you like what is he? He's an all-rounder. He's a time trialist. He's a pursuiter. There's also a sprinter, and so you have to play with it a little bit because you need to set up a few things. It's like
What's your recommendation? I mean, if I'm only new on Training Peaks for 6 months, and how long do you think I should keep on working with Training Peaks and then jump into the next level?
You're ready, man. I mean, you've been doing it for 6 months. You're starting to understand chronic training load, performance manager, TSS. I mean, you're ready now. So I would do it. Now, here's what I would do, Roy, and this is for everybody. I would do go to YouTube.
Okay.
All right. And under YouTube, the search on Training Peaks.
Yeah.
Okay. And then under Training Peaks, there is a under their channel there is a playlist.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Playlist right there, and then WKO4.
Okay.
So that's a really good one because it will walk you through. These are short videos. It walks you through everything.
So the screen that you just showed me with the black background, that is the program. That's how you see the graphics if you work. Is it also delivered to the handy? Can you also show it, watch it on the phone? No, it doesn't. Okay.
No. This is a very powerful.
This is software.
Yeah, you have to have a good computer for it.
Okay. Ha.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to come to Switzerland. We have to do a seminar one day here. Okay.
Yes, please. I'd love to.
You were. How can we set it? I mean, what's the best we can do? What would you recommend?
Yeah. I mean, to come there, let's just pick a date. Let's figure out what we can do. Let's create a seminar and let's make it happen.
Do you think the WKO4 is more for bicycling riding, or is it also good for triathletes? I mean, what's your...
It's perfect for triathletes because check this out. Here, over on the right side, you can filter all your data based on the sport, right? Okay. So you have, here is, and I know this is a little small, but I'll make it bigger.
I can see.
Here's bikes.
Yeah.
Here's mountain bike, running, walking, swimming, paddling, skiing, weightlifting. This is rest, and this is other. Doesn't fit into that. So you can take an athlete who, let's see, do I have a triathlete I'm coaching?
You should have. Those are the guys with the most money, okay?
Here. I've got an athlete here, and let's see. This is he's not giving me any swim data right now, right? But then I have this is his. Oh wait, this is last year. Let me do last 90 days. Sorry, I didn't have it checked right. So here's the last 90 days for his PMC, and then I can look at it just from his running data, because here it shows just his running, what his average pace is. You do minutes per kilometer, you know, all of his running data because he uses a Garmin GPS watch.
Yeah.
I don't think he's got. Yeah, he doesn't have a swimming. He doesn't have the.
Yeah, but swimming it's different. Swimming you don't need, you know.
Yeah, so it's tough, but yeah, you can look at all this and you can just say, well, yeah, I just want to see just the running, you know, and so then you can make the charts just based on running or whatever you want.
And also you have a chart that tells about aerodynamics. I saw on YouTube, correct?
Yes.
That's a good one. That's tomorrow. I'm going to Augsburg to an indoor track, and we are working on a perfect position. So that's going to be a good day. But of course, if you can, you know, save all the data riding around and then find out with the program that you're actually riding more aerodynamic, and I think you have it on this program, correct?
Yes. Yes. So here is so up here in this little button right here, there are two things you should know about. One is what we call the chart library, and so here's in the chart library where you can look at these things. So like you could say run, right? And so then this will just show you all of the running charts. Yeah. Or you can say PD for power duration curve, and you can see that. Or if you click on this one, more charts, then it goes to trainpeaks.com, and then these are this is the chart exchange, and in here is, you know, temperature. How does temperature affect your performance? So if you have your data with all of your power data, you've got temperature in your Garmin, we can look and see, well, you know, man, every time it goes over 37 degrees Celsius, you perform very poorly,
or you perform good if it's warm, you know, yeah.
Right. So maybe if you perform poorly, you shouldn't do any races in the summer. But if you perform great, then let's make all of your best races in the summer. So you got those things. So there's temperature, there's effects of, here's elevation, right? Because what happens to your power when your elevation goes down, or elevation goes up, like how much does your power go down? So we can correct for elevation.
It's amazing. When I trained in Boulder, I just put a sticker over my SRM PC7 for 14 days, and just it was horrible.
You don't want to get depressed, huh?
Going up a Rocky Mountain highway with like 200 watts, and my heart rate was like this for the 14 days. I was just, but hey, that's amazing. So 159 for the program?
Yep, 159.
Includes all this stuff that you just showed, or this is extra added values?
No, this is all free.
All free, okay. Hi, yeah. That's a good job.
Thanks.
I'm impressed, but I need some more time. Okay, so let me think what we can do, Hunter. I thank you very much for the time.
You're welcome.
I will.
Thank you, Roy.
That's very nice. On such a short notice, I can pop into your business day and have some beginner questions, but they will become more complicated. Okay.
All right, that's great. That's great. You're learning. This is perfect.
Thank you, Hunter, and I will send you my feedback. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Great talking to you.
Thank you.
All right.
Goodbye.